so glad you've joined us. My name is Alfredo Adesi. I'll be your host, your teacher, your mentor to help you in every way with your business. For over 25 years, I've built successful businesses in real estate, construction, property casualty insurance, in food. And then for 20 years, I worked with eager to succeed business owners who wanted me to guide them in reference to make their business more successful. For each one of over 15,000 eager business owners, I did their comprehensive business plan to help them get money, grants, whatever, to help make them very succeed. And now I want to help you. Now, we're here at businessdonesmart.com. Businessdonesmart.com. Our focus is totally you. Our focus is to work with actual business owners who have been successful and are willing to share insights to help you. Today, I'm very proud to have Andrew Nash, who is the president and owner of the well-known Concord Grape Pie Company. And Andrew's going to share with us. Andrew, how are you today?
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be here.
All right. Would you tell us what exactly is the Concord Grape Pie Company and what do you do?
All right, great question. So, yeah, the Concord Grape Pie Company, like we say in the title, we make pies out of Concord grapes, and it's a very original idea. There's most of you out there probably have never heard of a Concord grape pie, as we're the only company that makes them and sells them in the United States. I grew up on a Concord grape vineyard in upstate New York, and that's where this idea was born out of. Our business was shipping Concord grapes to supermarket chains, but in our little neck of the woods where we lived, there were some farm stands and some people that made these Concord grapes, and if you're not from that area, you don't know about it. But we were aware of them, and we chose to not ship the. We didn't get into the pie business back then in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, and we sort of put it on the back burner. But 6 months ago, we decided, why don't we give it a try? Why don't we kind of fulfill a wish that a dream that we had never done before? And here we are 6 months later, and we're now beginning to sell and ship our pies.
And the pies are so delicious. I swear to you, they're addictive. They have different versions of it and a cheesecake version. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the farm. I understand it was 150 acres.
Yeah. When my parents first bought the vineyard in 1973, it was only 15 to 20 acres of grapes. We had peach trees and pears and cherries as well. And as us little kids, I have a brother and a sister, as we grew up, we all worked on the farm as little kids. And then as we got older, we started taking more important roles in the business, in the warehouse, in the sales offices, and we all got our chance to work in the family business. And the family business was shipping Concord grape table grapes to all the major supermarket chains throughout the United States, and we would ship via tractor trailer. And by the end of a 40-year run, we became the leading shippers of Concord grapes in the nation. And my brother and sister went on to do other great things in their lives, but I stayed with the company.
Yeah.
And we've now shifted over to a little bit more of a fun thing, the pies, making the pies out of the Concord grapes.
But I mean, you think how interesting growing, waiting for the harvest, and then harvesting all the grapes, and then packaging them, and making contacts all over the country, and shipping them. And did you even go outside of the U.S. somewhat?
We shipped into Canada, yeah, and we imported grapes from Brazil on certain years. So I guess you can call it international.
Okay. All right. Now, the interesting thing is the pies are absolutely delicious. You have a wonderful website, correct?
Yeah.
And if they want to contact the website, where do they go?
It's www.theconcordgrapepiecompany.com.
And it not only is a fabulous website, but they also have the most ingenious animation on it. They have actually a cartoon telling the story of the family,
Yeah.
which is, you have to see it. You have to go on the site, check the cartoon, and of course, order a pie. Now, the biggest thing with a company is you got to get customers. So how are you getting your customers?
Yeah, well, we started out, we thought it was the e-commerce website is what we're really want to grow and think that that will become our number one way of getting customers. But right now we're going to local farmers markets. We're going to some farmers markets in South Florida where we're meeting the customers face to face, giving them samples. Everybody loves it, and so and they're buying. We're selling out. Happy to say that we're selling out at the farmers markets every weekend. And we're also working out any kinks in the kitchen and in the production level thing. I'm also the head chef, so each week I'm having to bake more and more pies. And you know, with having to bake more and more pies, you encounter more and more challenges. Let's say, and so you know, it went from 10 pies a week to 30 pies to 50 pies. Soon we'll be getting up to 100 pies a week.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting side note, with any company, there's always a family. Well, Andrew has a lovely wife, and I understand she's working with you, cooking.
She's right there, side by side, in the kitchen. Yeah, and happy to give her opinions. And
Right.
she had a great idea, and we're working on it. A Concord grape cheesecake swirl bar, and we took some to the farmers market this last weekend just to give it a try, and we sold out of them. They were really popular.
Super delicious.
Who doesn't
Super
like
delicious.
cheesecake? Yeah.
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 And they look beautiful too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, our goal is to help someone who's out there, maybe struggling a little bit, trying to get ahead with their business, make it more successful. What kind of habits have you developed that have worked well for you? I know one thing I can say about Andrew, if he makes an appointment with you, guarantee within 5 minutes he will be there on the appointment. That is a wonderful lesson to learn for anyone who wants a reputation as a business. But what things have you learned that you can share?
Yeah, your word is your bond. If you say you're going to be somewhere or you're going to do something, you've got to do it. You got to follow up on it. You'll be judged by that, you know, your whole life. And but anytime anybody's interested in starting a new business, you got to do your best to figure out how much money the startup costs are going to be, and then double it. Whatever you think.
Yeah, it's true.
Whatever you think, there's going to be so much more that you didn't think of, and even the things you thought of, they're going to cost more than what you think they're going to cost. So always have better to be overcapitalized than underfunded when you go into a new business. And then be aware that it's going to take a while to. You're going to create a hole before you even sell your first product.
Sure.
And so you're going to dig out of that hole and then get to even, hopefully, and then start making a profit going forward.
Now, our goal is to understand your particular business. So where did the money come from when you had to get started?
Well, luckily, so my father is involved in the business, you know, giving me advice as I go along the trail here, and he was willing to be a 50-50 partner with me. And so we split, you know, 50-50 the initial capital investment to pay for a website, to find a kitchen, a commercial kitchen for rental, so to pay for our rent, and then initial supplies of everything it takes to bake a pie and the equipment as well, and insurance, and whether you decide to be an LLC or a sole proprietor, there's permits you have to get, licenses you have to get, and every one of those costs money. So it doesn't take long to rack up those initial fees.
And Andrew, one of the key things, you have a budget, like anybody has a budget. So taking money out of the company at the initial period, that's something that you really have to strategically align your budget for so that you're not prematurely draining the company of cash.
That's right. Yeah.
So, what have you and your wife done in reference to that regard?
Well, I mean, I knew that it would take 3 months to 6 months to start to show a profit. So you have to put some money aside. I mean, to pay for your regular normal bills.
Okay.
Yeah, before you can expect your company to be paying that.
So, if you're struggling with your company somewhat, it's not unusual. As a matter of fact, it is usual that at the beginning of a company, you got to be very budget conscious, watch every dollar, and I'm a firm user of either a spreadsheet or a yellow pad. And when I say a yellow pad, I write down everything I'm striving to do, everything I'm currently doing, to just make certain that you have a checklist that nothing is left behind. Now, do you write down your goals? And what are your goals for, let's say, the next 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
Well, what can you share with us in that regard?
Well, I, I know I should write down my goals. I've always heard.
He's honest.
I've always heard the positive. There's a positive and a good reason to write them down. I just have them in my head. I keep my goals in my head. But short term, sure, I'd like to by 6 months be turning a profit. By the end of the year, about 1 year, be able to rely on this as my income going into my senior years.
Okay. And on a grand scale, where do you think you could be in 3 years or 5 years?
World domination. On a grand scale, yeah. I mean, I'd like to, be into maybe some national chain supermarkets. Have the website really clicking along, where orders are coming in pretty frequently, and
And restaurants, you want to talk about that?
yeah, sure. There's in every restaurant you go into, there's the dessert menu, and there's no reason why this Concord Grape Pie wouldn't fit perfectly on any of those menus. It's unique, it's delicious, and it fits right in with many of the restaurants in the nation.
Now, the key with the restaurant business is we're talking about repeat orders. We're talking about once their customers get used to your Concord Grape Pie and love it,
Yeah.
okay, the goal is to have a whole army of restaurants that are dependent on a delivery of Concord Grape Pies every week.
Right.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're saying it right. I mean, and in the restaurant industry, and every industry, but I think most people would agree, mostly in the restaurant industry, there's all sorts of sites that review your restaurants, Yelp and Google and TripAdvisor, and people can't wait to get onto a site and say something good or sometimes say something bad. But you're really heavily dependent on those reviews.
Right. Now, when you look at the math, it's not easy, it's not difficult to figure in if he had 10 restaurants, 100 restaurants, 1,000 restaurants, 10,000 restaurants all over the country. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar possibility here with this company. All of you are probably familiar with Omaha Steaks. There's a company called All Recipes. There's another company, I think it's called Harry and David.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've developed a whole litany of subscribers that they send catalogs, emails, special events, but they ship all over the country. And these companies have become multi-million dollar companies. That opportunity is present for the Concord Grape Pie Company. And they've already seen where your production can easily be ramped up to 100, 500,
Yeah.
1,000 or more, okay? So that is one of the major considerations there. Anything that you could tell us that you think is a major struggle or about? Now, you really don't have any competition, am I right? Because nobody makes the Concord Grape Pie.
Well, in some sense, we have competition of all the pies that are made in the country. I mean, the apple pie is the number one seller in the country. I think quickly followed by cherry pie, and then you got your key lime pie and your coconut cream and pecan pie, and a lot of popular pies.
Right.
And nobody's heard of a Concord grape pie. So my challenge is and we're never going to we will not overcome apple pie sales. That will never happen in my lifetime. And we're not trying to do that. And I love a good apple pie myself. So, but there's a spot for us. We're a niche item, and nobody's tried it. If you do try it, you're going to love it. I just feel confident saying that. And there's a spot for us. There's a place for us, either on a store shelf or on a restaurant menu or in a farmer's market or a cafe, coffee places.
Yeah.
There's a place for us.
All right. Now, one of the things that I want to bring up, because I think this is so wonderful for people all over the country, because I always get asked, what kind of business should I start? How can I really get going? A lot of people are not aware you can have a food truck, you can have a food trailer, which is probably the cheapest way to open a company. It could be a hot dog stand, it could be selling meatballs and sausage and peppers, it could be chicken sandwiches, it could be all kinds of things, okay? But there's also farmers markets, and I'd like Andrew to share with us what the actual cost is for farmers markets, okay, and what the operation entails. Would you go over that in detail? I know it could be a great help to someone.
Yeah, so a farmer's market can be anywhere from as low as $40 to set up a booth for yourself, up to $200, depending on how many days a week they're there, how many months of the year, and the hours of operation. And they're gathering places for companies that they have their own unique, they're kind of unique. You get produce there, cheeses there, specialty barbecue sauces and hot sauces, and a lot of them are homemade. They're family-owned businesses, and if you want to support your local townspeople, that's where you go, to the farmers market. And it's also a good launching pad for companies that are just starting, so they can learn about their own product. They can see, well, what are customers saying? I'm getting feedback. They're saying it's great. They're saying it's pretty good. You should do this. You should do that. And it's important to listen to that feedback and make the changes, because they're your customers and they're telling you what they want. So you can learn a lot from going to the farmer's market without a big investment, and work your way up that way.
And obviously, if you provide your phone number, your email address, your website, and make a friend with the customer, this is something that could sustain your company forever.
Yeah.
And just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
Okay?
No matter how much we grow, and hopefully we will, I'll always remain in the farmers markets.
And it could be as simple as having a business card, making up a flyer, okay, having a banner. But when he says $40, it could be as cheap as $40 a day to sell your products. Thank you so much for listening. Like I say, my focus is totally on helping you. And I have a phone number that I answer 24/7. I have a website. I have an email address. The website is businessdonesmart.com. On that website, you'll be able to enjoy Andrew's interview and all the wonderful information about the Concord Grape Pie Company. But you will also see our other podcasts where we have business owners sharing their information with you to help you make your business more successful. In addition to that, don't forget my email is my first name, Alfredo, Alfredo, then my phone number, 954-573-3110, okay, at gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Look forward to talking to you real soon. Bye-bye.